China, a land where bamboo forests stretch endlessly toward heaven, where ancient palaces float on mist-covered lakes, and where mountains pierce the clouds like sleeping dragons awakening. In China, nature didn't just create landscapes, it sculpted poetry in stone, painted masterpieces with water and wind, and carved cathedrals from living rock that dwarf anything human hands have ever built. This is a country where a single province contains more geographic diversity than entire continents, where terraced rice fields cascade down mountainsides like liquid gold, where underground rivers carve limestone palaces that have never seen sunlight, and where desert dunes sing in harmonies that echo across millennia. From the frozen peaks of the Himalayas to the tropical beaches of Hainan, from the vast emptiness of the Gobi to the intricate waterways of ancient canal towns, China doesn't just span a continent, it encompasses worlds. Today, we're embarking on a visual odyssey through the 12 most breathtaking wonders this ancient land has to offer. These aren't just tourist destinations or Instagram hotspots, these are places where geology becomes art, where human ingenuity reaches toward the impossible, and where the very essence of beauty takes form in ways that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about our planet. Prepare yourself for a journey that will take you from floating mountains that inspired legends to underground cathedrals that predate civilization itself. This is China, raw, magnificent, and absolutely unforgettable. Number 12. The Reed Flute Cave, Guilin. Deep beneath the karst mountains of Guilin lies a world that seems borrowed from another planet entirely. The Reed Flute Cave, known locally as the Palace of Natural Arts, stretches for over 240 meters through limestone formations that have been sculpted by water over millions of years. But what transforms this geological marvel into pure magic is the interplay of light, shadow, and reflection that creates an otherworldly cathedral of stone. As you step into this subterranean realm, your eyes adjust to reveal stalactites and stalagmites that twist and flow like frozen waterfalls. The cave's underground pools act as perfect mirrors, doubling the height of every formation, and creating the illusion that you're walking through an infinite palace suspended between earth and sky. The naturally formed limestone pillars rise like ancient columns, some as delicate as curtains, others as massive as cathedral buttresses. The cave's reputation as a wonder spans over 1,200 years. Ancient inscriptions on the walls dating back to 792 AD prove that poets and scholars have been drawn to this underground sanctuary for over a millennium. These aren't just random scribbles. They're carefully composed verses that capture the awe these formations inspired in visitors across centuries. The Tang Dynasty poets who first explored these chambers wrote of dragon palaces beneath the earth and halls where immortals might dwell. What makes Reed Flute Cave particularly extraordinary is its acoustic properties. The limestone formations create a natural resonance chamber where even a whisper can travel the entire length of the cave. Local musicians have discovered that certain formations, when struck gently, produce pure, bell-like tones that seem to hang in the air like music made visible. Modern lighting has revealed details that ancient visitors could never have imagined. The cave's walls shimmer with mineral deposits that catch and scatter light in ways that make the stone appear to breathe. Calcium carbonate formations create natural sculptures that rival anything in the world's greatest museums. Here, a Buddha-like figure emerges from the rock. There, a forest of stone trees reaches toward an invisible sky. The cave maintains a constant temperature of 20 degrees Celsius year-round, creating its own microclimate that supports unique mineral formations. Scientists have discovered that the cave's ecosystem includes microorganisms found nowhere else on Earth, thriving in this perpetual twilight zone where water, stone, and time have created something that transcends the ordinary boundaries of natural beauty. Number 11. The Hanging Temple of Datong. Clinging to a sheer cliff face 75 meters above the ground, the Hanging Temple of Datong really defies every law of physics and logic you thought you knew. Built over 1,500 years ago, this architectural impossibility seems to float in mid-air, held in place by nothing more than wooden beams, faith, and engineering genius that still, honestly, baffles modern architects. The temple consists of 40 halls and pavilions, all connected by narrow walkways that zigzag up the cliff face like a three-dimensional maze. What appears from below to be a precarious wooden structure is actually a masterpiece of engineering that has withstood earthquakes, floods, and centuries of erosion. The secret lies in the wooden beams driven deep into the rock face, not merely attached to the surface, but actually embedded into holes carved directly into the living stone. As you climb the narrow, creaking wooden stairs, each step brings a new perspective on the valley below. The temple's position, tucked into a natural alcove in the cliff, protects it from rain, snow, and the harsh winds that sweep across the Shanxi Plateau. This wasn't just clever engineering, it was environmental genius. The builders chose this location because it offered natural protection while creating an experience that literally elevates visitors between earth and heaven. The temple is unique in China for housing 3 different religions under one roof. Buddhist statues sit alongside Taoist deities and Confucian sages, creating a spiritual ecosystem that reflects China's philosophical complexity. The builders understood that true wisdom comes from multiple perspectives, and the temple's precarious position seems to emphasize the delicate balance required to maintain harmony between different belief systems. What makes the Hanging Temple particularly breathtaking is how it changes throughout the day. At dawn, the wooden structures glow golden against the red cliff face. At noon, the deep shadows create dramatic contrasts that make the temple appear to float. At sunset, the entire structure seems to catch fire as the last light reflects off the polished wood and painted details. The temple's survival for over 1,500 years is itself a wonder. It has weathered countless storms, earthquakes, and the rise and fall of dynasties. During the Cultural Revolution, when many religious sites were destroyed, the Hanging Temple was protected because it was classified as a cultural artifact rather than a religious site. Today, it stands as testament to human ingenuity and the power of architecture to inspire awe across centuries. Modern engineering analysis has revealed that the temple's design incorporates principles that weren't formally recognized by Western architecture until the 20th century. The flexible wooden joints allow the structure to sway with wind and seismic activity rather than rigidly resisting forces. It's a living example of how, sometimes, ancient wisdom often surpasses modern understanding. Number 10. The Stone Forest of Shilin. Rising from the Yunnan Plateau like a petrified army of giants, the Stone Forest of Shilin transforms 350 square kilometers into a landscape that seems ripped from a fever dream. These limestone pillars, some reaching heights of 30 meters, create a natural labyrinth where geology becomes sculpture and erosion becomes art on a scale that really humbles human imagination. Formed over 270 million years ago when this region lay beneath a tropical sea, the stone forest is the result of one of Earth's most dramatic geological transformations. As tectonic forces lifted the seabed skyward, water began its patient work of carving these limestone deposits into the fantastic shapes we see today. What makes Shilin unique among the world's karst formations is the incredible diversity of erosional features concentrated in a single area. Walking through the forest feels like navigating a city built by titans. Narrow passages wind between towering pillars, opening suddenly into vast chambers where dozens of stone spires reach toward the sky like Gothic cathedral spires. The limestone has been carved into shapes that spark the imagination. Here, a stone resembling a rhinoceros drinking from a pool. There, a formation that looks like a mother bird protecting her young. The forest's most famous formation, the Ashima stone, tells a story that connects geology to human culture. According to local Yi people legend, the stone represents a beautiful girl who was turned to stone while waiting for her lover. But the scientific reality is equally romantic. This particular pillar formed when water carved away the softer limestone around a harder core, leaving behind a sculpture that perfectly captures the human form. What makes the stone forest particularly spectacular is how it changes with light and weather. On misty mornings, the tops of the pillars disappear into clouds, creating the illusion of an endless forest stretching into infinity. When rain falls, the limestone surfaces become mirrors that reflect the sky, and every pool between the stones becomes a window into another world. The forest supports an ecosystem as unique as its geology. Plants that typically grow on cliff faces have adapted to life on these vertical limestone surfaces. Rare orchids bloom in crevices, and ancient trees grow from what appears to be solid rock, their roots finding microscopic cracks and gradually splitting the stone over centuries. Scientists have discovered that the stone forest is still actively forming. Water continues to carve new channels, and some pillars are slowly toppling while others grow taller. It's a landscape in constant, imperceptible motion. a reminder that even the most solid-appearing features of our world are temporary sculptures in the grand theater of geological time. The forest's acoustic properties add another layer of wonder. The limestone pillars create natural echo chambers, and visitors often report hearing sounds that seem to come from everywhere and nowhere. Local musicians have discovered that certain formations, when struck, produce pure tones that resonate through the entire forest, creating a natural symphony that can be heard for kilometers. Number 9. The Terracotta Army, Xi'an. Buried beneath the soil of Xi'an for over 2,000 years, the Terracotta Army represents one of humanity's most ambitious artistic undertakings and, honestly, one of archaeology's greatest discoveries. When farmers digging a well in 1974 uncovered fragments of clay soldiers, they unknowingly opened a window into an emperor's obsession with immortality and an ancient civilization's mastery of art, technology, and human organization. The army consists of over 8,000 life-sized warriors, each one individually crafted with unique facial features, expressions, and details. No two soldiers are identical, a feat of artistic diversity that required an industrial-scale workshop employing hundreds of skilled craftsmen. The figures stand in battle formation across 3 main pits, creating a frozen moment of military precision that has survived the rise and fall of dynasties. What makes the Terracotta Army extraordinary isn't just its scale, but its humanity. Each warrior was modeled after real soldiers from Emperor Qin Shi Huang's army, capturing not just their physical appearance but their personalities. You can see determination in one soldier's jaw, caution in another's eyes, and fierce loyalty in the set of a third's shoulders. These aren't generic representations, they're portraits of individuals who lived and served over 2 millennia ago. The technical achievement represented by the army is staggering. The figures were created using a combination of molding and hand sculpting techniques that allowed for mass production while maintaining individual detail. The clay was mixed with specific minerals that gave the fired terracotta incredible durability. Many figures retain fine details like armor studs, belt buckles, and even the patterns of shoe soles. Recent excavations have revealed that the army was originally painted in vivid colors. Traces of red, blue, green, and yellow pigments show that these warriors once stood in brilliant military uniforms. The paint deteriorated rapidly when exposed to air, but new preservation techniques are allowing archaeologists to stabilize some figures and reveal glimpses of how spectacular the army must have appeared when it was first created. The army's positioning tells a story of military strategy and ancient Chinese warfare. The formations follow actual battle tactics with infantry, cavalry, and archers arranged in patterns that reflect real military doctrine. The frontline soldiers wear lighter armor for mobility, while officers in the rear wear elaborate protection. Even the horses are equipped with detailed tack and armor that matches historical records. Beyond the warriors themselves, the pits contain weapons that showcase the technological sophistication of ancient China. Bronze swords, crossbow bolts, and spearheads were found in remarkable condition, many still sharp after 2 millennia. The chrome-plated surfaces of some weapons demonstrate metallurgical techniques that weren't reinvented in Europe until the 19th century. The discovery of the Terracotta Army has, really revolutionized understanding of ancient Chinese art and society. It reveals a civilization capable of organizing massive industrial projects, one that valued individual identity even within mass production, and one that believed so strongly in the afterlife that it would create an entire army to serve an emperor in death. Number 8. The Li River and Karst Mountains, Guilin. The Li River doesn't just flow through landscape, it flows through living poetry. For 83 kilometers between Guilin and Yangshuo, the river winds through a gallery of karst peaks that have inspired artists for over 1,000 years and continue to define the very essence of Chinese natural beauty. These limestone mountains, rising like ancient sentinels from the water's edge, create a panorama that seems too perfect to be real. The geological story of these formations spans 300 million years, beginning when this region lay beneath a warm, shallow sea. As countless marine organisms died and settled on the seafloor, their remains formed thick layers of limestone. Tectonic forces later lifted these deposits skyward, and millions of years of erosion by slightly acidic rainwater carved the soft limestone into the fantastic shapes we see today. What makes the Li River corridor unique among the world's karst landscapes is the incredible concentration of peaks in a relatively small area. Over 20,000 limestone hills and mountains rise from the valley floor, each one shaped by the patient work of water into towers, needles, and fantastic formations that spark the imagination. The famous Elephant Trunk Hill, where the rock appears to be a giant elephant drinking from the river, is just one of hundreds of formations that have earned poetic names over the centuries. The river itself is a masterpiece of natural engineering. Fed by mountain springs and monsoon rains, it maintains a steady flow that has carved its channel deeper into the limestone bedrock over millions of years. The water's mineral content gives it a distinctive jade-green color that perfectly complements the emerald bamboo forests that coat the lower slopes of the mountains. Traveling down the Li River reveals a constantly changing panorama. Each bend in the river opens onto new vistas where mountains appear to shift and dance in the changing light. Morning mist often shrouds the peaks, creating an ethereal landscape where mountains seem to float on clouds. As the sun climbs higher, the mist burns away to reveal the full majesty of the karst towers rising 200 meters or more from the water's edge. The river's ecosystem is as remarkable as its scenery. The limestone karst creates a unique hydrological system where water disappears into underground channels and emerges from springs miles away. This creates a network of underground rivers, caves, and pools that support species found nowhere else on Earth. The famous blind cave fish that have evolved in the underground systems represent evolution in action. Local fishermen have practiced their traditional cormorant fishing on these waters for over 1,000 years, using trained birds to catch fish in a symbiotic relationship that predates most conservation programs. The sight of bamboo rafts drifting silently downstream, guided by fishermen who know every current and eddy, adds a human element to the natural drama that unfolds along the river's length. The Li River's influence on Chinese culture extends far beyond its natural beauty. The 20 yuan banknote features the river's most famous vista, making it possibly the most recognized landscape in China. Classical poets wrote of these mountains as the dwelling place of immortals, and painters have tried for centuries to capture the interplay of water, mist, and stone that defines this magical corridor. Number 7. The Honghe Rice Terraces, Yunnan. Carved into the mountainsides of Yunnan province over 1,300 years ago, the Honghe Rice Terraces transformed 16,000 hectares of steep terrain into one of the world's most spectacular examples of agricultural artistry. These terraces aren't just farmland, they're a living testament to human ingenuity, environmental harmony, and the patient work of countless generations who shaped raw mountain slopes into cascading steps that reach toward heaven. The terraces climb from 144 meters above sea level to over 2,000 meters, creating a vertical ecosystem that spans multiple climate zones. At the lower elevations, tropical plants thrive in the warm, humid conditions near the river valleys. As you ascend, the terraces transition through subtropical and temperate zones, each supporting different varieties of rice, and creating a complex agricultural system that maximizes productivity while maintaining ecological balance. What makes these terraces extraordinary isn't just their scale, but their sophisticated water management system. The Hani people engineered a network of channels, dams, and spillways that captures water from mountain springs and distributes it through thousands of individual terraces. The system works entirely by gravity, with each terrace level feeding the one below it in a cascade that ensures every grain of rice receives the perfect amount of water. You know, the terrace's visual impact changes dramatically with the seasons. In spring, when the fields are flooded for planting, the mountainsides become these gigantic mirrors reflecting the sky, clouds, and surrounding peaks. It's really something to behold. The stepped pools create a natural amphitheater of light that shifts and shimmers with every breeze. Then, during summer, the terraces transform into a cascade of green as the rice plants grow and mature, creating this living carpet that flows down the mountainsides. And as autumn arrives, it brings perhaps the most spectacular transformation. As the rice ripens, the terraces become a golden stairway that seems to climb directly into the sky. The harvest season fills the air with the sounds of traditional songs as families work together to gather the crop that will sustain them through the year. The sight of workers in traditional dress moving through the golden fields creates a scene that connects the present directly to centuries of agricultural tradition. Now let's talk about the engineering achievement represented by these terraces. It rivals any modern construction project, really. The builders had to understand soil composition, water flow, erosion control, and plant biology to create a system that would remain productive for over a millennium. The terraces are built using a combination of stone retaining walls and packed earth that creates a structure strong enough to withstand landslides, floods, and earthquakes. Plus, the terraces support an incredibly diverse ecosystem. The flooded fields provide habitat for fish, frogs, and aquatic plants that contribute to the overall productivity of the system. Ducks and geese help control insects while providing additional protein. And let's not forget, the surrounding forest provides materials for construction and fuel, while protecting the watershed that feeds the entire system. It's quite an impressive feat, don't you think? From an aerial perspective, the terraces create abstract patterns that rival any artwork. The curved lines follow the natural contours of the mountains, creating organic shapes that seem to flow like water frozen in time. Different stages of cultivation create a patchwork of colors and textures that changes constantly as farmers plant, tend, and harvest their crops. The Hani people have developed a sophisticated understanding of sustainable agriculture that modern farmers are only beginning to appreciate. The terraces require no chemical fertilizers or pesticides. The system's natural balance controls pests and maintains soil fertility through crop rotation, composting, and the careful management of water and nutrients. Number 6. The Giant's Causeway of China, Zhangye Dangxia landform. And just when you think it can't get better, wait until you see number 1. In the Gansu province of northwestern China, geological forces have painted a masterpiece that defies belief. The Zhangye Dangxia landform spreads across 510 square kilometers of what can only be described as Earth's most spectacular natural art gallery. These aren't just colorful rocks, they're layered sedimentary formations that tell the story of 24 million years of geological history, compressed into rainbow-striped mountains that seem to glow with their own inner light. The colors that give these formations their otherworldly appearance come from iron oxide deposits laid down in distinct layers over millions of years. Red sandstone, yellow mudstone, and green shale alternate in bands that follow the contours of the mountains, creating patterns that look like abstract paintings on a continental scale. The different mineral compositions in each layer create not just different colors, but different textures and erosion patterns that add depth and complexity to the landscape. What makes Zhangye particularly spectacular is how the sedimentary layers have been folded and tilted by tectonic forces. Rather than lying flat, the colorful bands now stand at dramatic angles, creating striped cliffs and ridges that seem to defy gravity. Some formations rise nearly vertical, with rainbow bands that appear to cascade down the mountainsides like frozen waterfalls of color. The landscape changes dramatically throughout the day as the angle of sunlight reveals different aspects of the formations. At sunrise, the red layers glow like embers while the cooler colors remain muted in shadow. As the sun climbs higher, the yellows and oranges begin to burn with intensity, and by noon, the entire landscape seems to be on fire with color. Sunset brings perhaps the most spectacular display, when the iron oxides in the rock seem to light up from within, creating a panorama of color that extends to the horizon. The formations create their own weather patterns. The different colored layers absorb and reflect heat at different rates, creating air currents that can generate dust devils and small whirlwinds. During rare rainstorms, the water running over the colored bands creates temporary waterfalls that add silver streaks to the rainbow palette. Recent geological studies have revealed that the Zhangye formations are still actively changing. Erosion continues to expose new layers and create new patterns, while the intense temperature variations between day and night cause the rocks to expand and contract, slowly splitting and reshaping the formations. It's a landscape that exists in a state of perpetual gradual transformation. The area's ecosystem has adapted to these unique conditions. Plants that can survive in the mineral-rich soil have evolved specific colorations and growth patterns. Some desert flowers bloom in colors that mirror the rock formations, creating moments when the living and geological world seem to merge into a single work of art. From elevated viewing platforms, visitors can see how the colored bands extend far into the distance, creating a landscape that seems to have been painted by brushstrokes kilometers wide. The patterns follow the ancient geography of lakes, rivers, and deserts that existed millions of years ago, preserving a record of past climates and environments in stone. If this journey has already left you breathless, hit that subscribe button. We're only halfway through. Number 5. The Jiuzhaigou Valley. Hidden in the mountains of Sichuan Province, Jiuzhaigou Valley contains what may be the most perfect collection of alpine lakes on Earth. This UNESCO World Heritage Site stretches across 72,000 hectares of pristine wilderness, where 118 lakes reflect snow-capped peaks, ancient forests, and skies so blue they seem almost artificial. The valley's name, meaning Nine Village Valley, refers to the Tibetan settlements that have called this paradise home for centuries. The lakes that make Jiuzhaigou famous are actually travertine pools created by calcium carbonate deposits over thousands of years. As mineral-rich water flows down the valley, it leaves behind limestone barriers that create natural dams, forming a series of stepped pools that descend through the forest like a giant staircase. Each lake has its own unique color palette, ranging from turquoise and emerald to deep sapphire and crystal clear. The coloration of the lakes comes from a combination of factors that create an optical phenomenon found nowhere else on Earth. The mineral content of the water, the depth of each pool, the angle of sunlight, and the reflection of surrounding vegetation combine to create colors that seem, honestly, just too vivid to be natural. Five Flower Lake, the valley's most famous, contains water so clear that you can see fallen logs on the bottom that have been preserved by the mineral content for decades. What makes Jiuzhaigou particularly magical is how the lakes change throughout the day and seasons. In early morning, mist rises from the warmer water, creating ethereal scenes where the lakes seem to float in clouds. As the sun climbs higher, the water becomes mirror still, perfectly reflecting the surrounding peaks and forests. During autumn, the deciduous trees create a riot of gold and red that doubles in intensity when reflected in the lake surfaces. The valley's ecosystem represents one of the world's most successful examples of conservation in action. The area is home to giant pandas, golden snub-nosed monkeys, and hundreds of bird species. The lakes themselves support unique aquatic life adapted to the high mineral environment, including fish species that have evolved to thrive in the calcium-rich waters. Winter transforms Jiuzhaigou into a crystalline wonderland. The lakes, partially freeze, creating these amazing formations of ice and open water that almost seem to glow with internal light. Waterfalls freeze into pillars of ice that tower over the landscape, while the snow-covered peaks provide a dramatic backdrop for the unfrozen portions of the lakes. The valley's waterfalls, honestly, add another dimension to its beauty. Nuorelang Falls, which is the widest waterfall in China, creates a 320-meter-wide curtain of water that thunders into the valley below. The sound echoes off the surrounding peaks, creating a natural symphony that can be heard for kilometers. Smaller waterfalls throughout the valley add their voices to the chorus, creating a soundscape that perfectly complements the visual spectacle. The travertine formations that create the lakes are still actively growing. Scientists have discovered that the calcium carbonate deposits continue to build new barriers and modify existing ones, meaning that Jiuzhaigou is a landscape in constant slow evolution. Some pools are growing deeper while others are gradually filling in, creating a dynamic system that will continue to change over geological time. The valley's pristine condition is maintained through strict conservation measures that limit visitor access and protect the delicate ecosystem. The result is a landscape that represents what much of the world's mountain regions might have looked like before human development, a glimpse into Earth's natural perfection. Number 4. The Potala Palace, Lhasa. Rising from the red hill of Lhasa like a mountain built by human hands, the Potala Palace stands as one of the world's most extraordinary architectural achievements. This 13-story fortress monastery soars 117 meters above the Tibetan plateau, its white and red walls seeming to grow organically from the living rock beneath. For over 1,300 years it has served as a spiritual beacon, a political center, and a testament to human determination to create beauty in the world's most challenging environments. The palace's construction represents an engineering miracle achieved at an altitude of 3,700 meters above sea level. The builders had to transport massive stone blocks up the steep mountainside, create foundations stable enough to support a structure weighing over 400,000 tons, and design walls thick enough to withstand the extreme temperature variations and seismic activity common to the region. The result is a building that seems to defy the laws of physics, appearing to float above the valley floor. What makes the Potala Palace truly breathtaking is how it integrates with its natural environment. The architects didn't simply build on the mountain, they extended the mountain skyward, creating a structure that seems to be part of the geological landscape. The white walls of the lower levels represent the pure snow of the peaks, while the red walls of the upper levels echo the iron-rich soil of the plateau. The golden roofs catch and reflect the intense high-altitude sunlight, creating a beacon that can be seen from dozens of kilometers away. The palace contains over 1,000 rooms, creating a vertical city that housed the Dalai Lama, his court, and thousands of monks. The interior spaces range from intimate meditation chambers to vast halls capable of holding hundreds of people. The throne room, located at the very top of the structure, offers panoramic views across the entire Lhasa Valley and the surrounding peaks of the Himalayas. The artistic treasures within the palace rival those of any museum in the world. The walls are covered with murals that tell the story of Tibetan Buddhism, painted in mineral pigments that have remained vivid for centuries. Thousands of statues, crafted from gold, silver, and precious stones, create a gallery of spiritual art that represents the finest achievements of Tibetan craftsmen. The palace's libraries contain over 60,000 volumes, including some of the world's most important Buddhist texts. The palace's design incorporates sophisticated environmental controls that maintain stable temperatures and humidity levels despite the extreme external conditions. The massive stone walls provide thermal mass that moderates temperature swings, while carefully placed windows and ventilation systems create air circulation that prevents moisture buildup. These passive environmental controls have protected the palace's treasures for over a millennium. From different vantage points around Lhasa, the palace presents completely different faces. From the east, it appears as a massive fortress dominating the valley. From the west, the white walls seem to merge with the snow-covered peaks beyond. From the south, the red walls glow like fire against the deep blue sky. This ability to transform based on viewing angle and lighting conditions makes the palace a living sculpture that changes throughout the day. The palace's acoustic properties add another layer of wonder. The vast halls amplify chanting and prayer bells, creating resonances that seem to make the building itself participate in religious ceremonies. The sound of prayer wheels spinning in the courtyards creates a constant, gentle hum that permeates the entire structure. The palace survived the political upheavals of the 20th century largely intact, preserving not just a building but an entire way of life. Today, it stands as a monument to human creativity, faith, and the power of architecture to inspire awe across cultures and centuries. Number 3. The Great Wall of China. Snaking across mountains, deserts, and grasslands for over 21,000 kilometers, the Great Wall of China isn't just a wall, it's humanity's most ambitious sculpture, carved from an entire continent. This isn't merely a barrier between civilizations, it's a testament to human determination, engineering genius, and honestly, the power of collective will to reshape the landscape on a scale that dwarfs any other construction project in history. The wall we see today represents the accumulated work of over 2,000 years and multiple dynasties. The Ming Dynasty sections, built between the 14th and 17th centuries, showcase the pinnacle of Chinese engineering and military architecture. These sections don't simply follow the terrain, they become part of it, flowing over mountain ridges and valleys like a stone river that follows the natural contours of the landscape. What makes the Great Wall extraordinary isn't just its length, but how it adapts to radically different environments. In the mountains west of Beijing, the wall climbs impossible slopes, its watchtowers perched on peaks that seem inaccessible, even by modern standards. In the Gobi Desert, the wall transforms into rammed earth and stone barriers designed to withstand sandstorms and extreme temperature variations. Along the grasslands, it becomes a sophisticated system of walls, trenches, and beacon towers that could coordinate defensive actions across hundreds of kilometers. The wall's construction required innovations that weren't matched anywhere else in the world. The builders developed techniques for creating foundations on unstable mountain slopes, for transporting massive stone blocks across impossible terrain, and for creating mortar that would remain strong for centuries. The famous legend that the wall is visible from space is false, but the engineering achievement it represents is far more impressive than any view from orbit could convey. Walking along the wall reveals its true nature as a complex military machine. The battlement walls are precisely sized to provide protection while allowing archers to fire effectively. The The watchtowers are positioned to provide overlapping fields of fire and communication through beacon fires. The wall's width varies depending on its strategic importance, with some sections wide enough for cavalry to patrol, while others are narrow defensive barriers designed to channel attackers into killing zones. You know, the wall's ecosystem has evolved over centuries to include the structure as part of the natural landscape. Ancient trees grow from cracks in the stone, and their roots actually help to stabilize the structure, while their branches provide habitat for birds and small mammals. The wall creates its own microclimate, with different growing conditions on its north and south faces that support different plant communities. The most spectacular sections of the wall showcase the builder's understanding of both military strategy and aesthetic impact. The wall at Jinshanling, for example, snakes along mountain ridges in curves that seem to have been designed as much for beauty as for defense. The watchtowers are positioned to create dramatic silhouettes against the sky, and the wall's path was chosen to take advantage of the most commanding views across the surrounding landscape. The wall's beacon system represents one of history's most sophisticated communication networks. A series of signal fires could relay messages across the entire length of the wall in a matter of hours, allowing commanders to coordinate defensive actions across hundreds of kilometers. The remains of these beacon towers still dot the landscape, creating a visible reminder of the wall's function as a communication system as much as a barrier. Modern restoration efforts have revealed the wall's incredible diversity of construction techniques. In some areas, the wall is built entirely from local stone fitted together without mortar. In others, it's constructed from brick and mortar with a precision that honestly rivals modern construction. The variation in building techniques reflects the different challenges faced by builders working in different environments and different historical periods. The wall's influence on Chinese culture extends far beyond its military function. It has become a symbol of national identity, perseverance, and the ability of ordinary people to achieve extraordinary things when working together. The millions of workers who built the wall, soldiers, peasants, and prisoners, created something that transcends its original purpose to become a monument to human ambition and achievement. Number 2. Zhangjiajie National Forest Park. In the mountains of Hunan Province, nature has achieved something that seems to mock the laws of physics. Zhangjiajie National Forest Park contains over 3,000 sandstone pillars that rise like skyscrapers from the forest floor, creating a landscape so otherworldly that it inspired the floating mountains in the movie Avatar. These aren't just tall rocks. They're vertical ecosystems, complete cities of stone that house entire forests hundreds of meters above the ground. The pillars formed over 380 million years ago when this region lay beneath a shallow sea. As sediments accumulated and compressed into sandstone, they created layers of rock with different compositions and densities. Later, tectonic activity lifted these deposits skyward, and millions of years of erosion gradually carved away the softer materials, leaving behind these spectacular towers of harder sandstone. What makes Zhangjiajie unique among the world's pillar formations is their incredible height and density. The tallest pillar, now named Avatar Hallelujah Mountain in honor of the film it inspired, rises 1,080 meters above sea level. The pillars are packed so closely together that in many areas you can't see the forest floor from the top, only an endless canopy of stone spires stretching to the horizon. The park's ecosystem has adapted to these vertical conditions in remarkable ways. Each pillar supports its own microenvironment, with different plants growing at different elevations. The tops of the pillars, isolated from the forest floor, have evolved unique plant communities that exist nowhere else on Earth. Some pillars support entire forests of ancient trees that have grown from seeds carried by wind or birds, creating hanging gardens that seem to float in mid-air. The park's weather patterns add another layer of drama to an already spectacular landscape. Morning mist often fills the valleys between the pillars, creating the illusion that the stone towers are floating on clouds. As the sun climbs higher, the mist burns away to reveal the full majesty of the forest of stone. During rainstorms, waterfalls cascade from the tops of the pillars, creating temporary silver streams that add movement to the otherwise static landscape. The park's elevation changes create multiple climate zones within a relatively small area. The valley floors remain warm and humid, supporting subtropical vegetation. As you climb higher, the climate becomes cooler and more temperate, with different plant communities adapted to the changing conditions. The very tops of the pillars experience alpine conditions, with plants that can survive extreme temperature variations and constant wind. The park's trail system includes some of the world's most spectacular walkways. The glass-bottomed bridge that spans the canyon between two pillars offers views straight down into the forest canopy 300 meters below. The experience of walking across transparent glass suspended between stone giants creates a visceral understanding of the landscape's incredible scale and vertical drama. Wildlife in Zhangjiajie has adapted to the pillar environment in fascinating ways. Macaques have learned to navigate the vertical terrain with remarkable agility, leaping between pillars and using their knowledge of the stone maze to escape predators. Birds nest in crevices high up on the pillar faces, taking advantage of the protection offered by the vertical stone walls. The park's geology continues to evolve. Erosion gradually wears away the softer layers of sandstone, slowly reshaping the pillars and creating new formations. Some pillars are growing taller as their bases are eroded, while others are gradually splitting into multiple spires. It's a landscape caught in perpetual slow-motion transformation. From the park's highest viewing platforms, the pillar forest extends to the horizon in every direction. The late afternoon light creates dramatic shadows between the towers, emphasizing their incredible height and the maze-like complexity of the terrain. It's a view that makes you understand why ancient Chinese poets wrote of these mountains as the dwelling places of immortals. They seem to belong to another world entirely. Number 1. The Forbidden City, Beijing. At the heart of Beijing lies humanity's most perfect architectural achievement, a palace complex so vast, so intricate, and so precisely designed that it took 14 years and over 1 million workers to complete. The Forbidden City isn't just a building, it's a 720,000 square meter universe in miniature, where every courtyard, every roofline, and every carved dragon represents the cosmic order translated into wood, stone, and gold. For 500 years, this was the center of the Chinese Empire, home to 24 emperors who ruled from behind vermilion walls that separated the mortal world from the divine. The palace complex contains 9,999 rooms, one short of the 10,000 that tradition reserved for heaven itself. Every detail, from the number of door studs to the colors of the roof tiles, was chosen to reflect the emperor's role as the Son of Heaven, the earthly representative of cosmic order. The Forbidden City's design represents the pinnacle of Chinese architectural philosophy. The complex is organized along a central axis that runs perfectly north-south, symbolizing the emperor's role as the mediator between heaven and earth. The buildings grow progressively larger and more elaborate as you move toward the center, creating a sense of ascending importance that culminates in the Hall of Supreme Harmony, where the emperor held court on the most important state occasions. You know, what makes the Forbidden City extraordinary isn't just its scale, but really the perfection of its proportions. Every building is positioned according to principles of feng shui and traditional Chinese cosmology. The golden roofs seem to float above red walls, creating a color scheme that, well, symbolizes the harmony between heaven and earth. The upturned eaves of the roofs aren't just decorative. They're engineered to distribute weight while creating the illusion that the massive buildings are about to take flight. The palace's construction required innovations that, honestly, pushed Chinese engineering to its limits. The massive wooden structures were built without using a single nail, held together by an intricate system of joints and brackets that allows the buildings to flex during earthquakes. The foundations were dug 15 meters deep and filled with layers of stone and rammed earth that have remained stable for over 600 years. The artistic treasures within the Forbidden City represent, without a doubt, the finest achievements of Chinese civilization. The throne rooms contain furniture inlaid with mother-of-pearl and precious stones, creating surfaces that seem to glow with internal light. The walls are covered with silk panels painted by master artists, depicting scenes from Chinese history and mythology. The imperial gardens contain ancient trees, rare flowers, and rock formations that create perfect miniature landscapes. The palace's acoustic design creates an almost supernatural atmosphere. The vast courtyards amplify and echo sounds in ways that make footsteps sound like distant thunder, and whispered conversations carry across impossible distances. The arrangement of buildings creates wind patterns that produce different sounds as air flows through the complex, adding to the sense that the palace is a living entity. The Forbidden City's survival through wars, revolutions, and natural disasters is itself a miracle. During World War II, the most precious artifacts were secretly transported to safety. preserving treasures that might otherwise have been lost forever. The Cultural Revolution threatened to destroy the palace, but it was protected by leaders who recognized its irreplaceable value to Chinese culture. Today, the Forbidden City reveals new wonders with each visit. The morning light streaming through the courtyards creates geometric patterns of shadow and gold that, change throughout the day. The evening light sets the golden roofs ablaze while the red walls seem to absorb and hold the warmth of the sun. Different seasons bring different aspects of the palace's beauty: spring blossoms in the gardens, summer thunderstorms that drum against the ancient roofs, autumn leaves that carpet the marble courtyards, and winter snow that transforms the complex into a crystalline wonderland. The palace's influence on world architecture extends far beyond China. Its principles of proportion, symmetry, and environmental integration have inspired architects across cultures and centuries. The way it creates a sense of approaching the sacred through a series of increasingly important spaces has been, honestly, copied in buildings from the Capitol in Washington to the palaces of Europe. Standing in the center of the Forbidden City, surrounded by buildings that have witnessed the rise and fall of empires, you understand that you're not just visiting a tourist attraction. You're standing at the center of a civilization that has endured for thousands of years, in a place where human ambition and artistic vision combine to create something that, honestly, transcends time itself. From the mist-shrouded peaks of Zhangjiajie to the golden roofs of the Forbidden City, from the rainbow mountains of Zhangye to the ancient terraces of Yunnan, China has revealed itself as a land where the impossible becomes inevitable, where human creativity and natural forces combine to create wonders that, redefine our understanding of beauty itself. This is a country that doesn't just contain landscapes, it contains entire worlds, each one more spectacular than the last. These 12 wonders represent just a fraction of what this extraordinary nation has to offer. Behind every mountain range lies another valley of impossible beauty. Beyond every ancient wall stands another architectural marvel. Beneath every ordinary field lies another underground cathedral waiting to be discovered. China isn't just a destination. It's really a lifetime of discoveries, a whole continent of wonders that rewards every traveler who approaches it with curiosity and respect. The thread that connects all these places isn't just their beauty. It's their ability to inspire awe, to make us question our assumptions about what's possible, and to remind us that our planet is far more extraordinary than we often remember. From the patient work of water carving limestone into sculpture to the ambitious vision of emperors building palaces that rival heaven itself, these wonders speak to both the power of natural forces and the boundless capacity of human imagination. In a world that honestly often feels increasingly known and mapped, China continues to surprise, to challenge, and to inspire. These landscapes and monuments don't just exist to be photographed. They exist to be experienced, to be felt, to be absorbed in ways that, change how we see the world and our place in it. They remind us that beauty isn't just something we observe. It's something we participate in, something that becomes part of us when we open ourselves to wonder. If this journey amazed you, go ahead and subscribe and share it with someone who loves discovery. Some places you visit, others stay with you forever. Until the next destination, stay curious.